Today I'm going to teach you how to make a silky, satisfying soup that uses white beans instead of cream. This is one of my favorite ways to make soups creamy, rich, and satisfying without adding dairy or even stock. It's simple, pantry friendly, and pretty adaptable. This recipe came out of a creative moment of a chaotic day. I had a plan for dinner, but my grocery pickup order was delayed and I not have time to do a full grocery run. So I started looking around at what we had in the refrigerator, which was not that much. And the pantry had beans and some canned tomatoes. So with the bell peppers I did have in the refrigerator and an onion, I roasted the bell peppers and we were on our way to this soup, which has turned out to be one of my favorite. In a pot, you're gonna saute the onions with a little salt for 10-ish minutes until they're softened. Then you're gonna add in the canned tomatoes and rinsed white beans. I like to go with a navy bean, cannellini bean, or a great northern bean for this. A butter bean or lima bean are a different category of beans and are not going to create the same creamy texture as those other beans. If you do not have a white bean on hand, I suggest using a pinto bean or a black bean before I'd end up using a butter bean. They're going to give you a similar silky texture. The garlic, which I often just use jarred garlic, making this another very pantry friendly ingredient. The roasted red peppers and a few cups of water. You're gonna bring this up to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer for 20 to 30 minutes. Once the soup's had at least 20 minutes to simmer, you can take it off the heat and use an immersion blender to fully incorporate all the ingredients and get that silky texture. You could also use a standard blender. I'd wait a few more minutes before you use the stand blender to make sure that the soup is not scalding hot before using the blender. The blended white beans don't just thicken the soup, it helps the soup emulsify and gives it that silky, creamy texture. This soup is great with a crusty piece of bread and a drizzle of olive oil on top. But today I'm also serving it with my butter bean croutons and a lemony herb sauce as a topping. They work really well together. So next time you're making soup or next time you are looking at the pantry trying to figure out what to make for dinner, don't forget that beans can often come to the rescue.